This is so profound.
Yeah.
What? But very interesting to know and hear. What's the name of the report again?
Ubunifu report.
Okay, the link is
on,
the link for the Ubunifu report is in the description and in the comment section.
Yeah.
Okay, so from a business perspective, I mean that must put you in peace. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
You're finally not even in the green. In the green of all kinds.
We were boiling, but then we started to make some mistakes after that as well. And it always happens
the cycle
when the
of
money,
entrepreneurship.
when the money comes flowing in.
So what kind of mistakes are you making?
We moved office.
That's now when you
we
moved to Valley Arcade.
And then we went to Valley Arcade, leafy suburbs, large office, green, plush with gazebos and stuff. So we moved there. We tried to expand our team, that's when Kina Eugene came, getting directors at senior level.
Oh man.
Expanded the team. I think at some point we had grown to like 17 of us. There were all these sorts of different programs running, all this consulting we were doing, flying across the continent. There was a lot of activity happening at the time. And so I think the growth was sustained. But
wasn't the growth necessary? Like you couldn't have stayed in your same office?
We couldn't have stayed in the same office, but I don't know, we needed to swing the pendulum to the other side where we now go all out. Because when you look at the rent that we were paying in this new space, it was significantly more. If you look at the numbers that we have, I don't know if everyone was productive to the tune of what it is that we needed done.
Yeah. So if you had to rewind time, what would you do different?
First, I wouldn't move to a location that's as big as that. I would have maybe doubled the size of where we are, where we were in Hurlingham, to a slightly bigger office.
Maybe going back to Navigators.
That size of thing would have worked very well. But we kind of swung the pendulum to the other. I mean, we were jet setting. I think I traveled so much that year that at some point I was like, enough is enough.
But was it necessary for you to travel?
So at that time, yes, because we were the ones, carrying out the assignments. We did have teams, but for the large customers, you still want to hold on to those and make sure that, there's good quality delivery happening. We did have programs that were running, and now the team was big, so you could have the entrepreneurship program running alongside an assignment in Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya happening simultaneously, because you can deploy 3 teams to go and do it and come back. So I would say, and then at some point we got into a partnership with an organization that eventually we ended up falling out with, so I'll not mention their name. But they were a foreign organization that was running entrepreneurship programs locally. So during this time when we were doing this whole HIVOS thing, we get into a contract with them as well to be the white label for all the content that we do around entrepreneurship would have been our content. So again, through the networks of one of the people from Mavuno Church, we ended up getting into a contract with these guys, and the program started running. So it got to the place where by around 2016, we had multiple contracts running side by side, where we are being paid by corporates, but also our entrepreneurship programs are running.
Nice.
And the numbers of people that we're dealing with are getting to their hundreds. So we are really, really good at this point at coaching entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Question, even just before you continue. What about one of the problems that comes with size is turnover? So now you get guys coming in and out like a frisbee.
Yes.
And then on top of that, there's you guys are pioneers, and you are the ones who appear. You've gotten this big business, so to the competitors, all you need to do is poach this guy over here.
Yes.
Who, because he looks like he's a magic, because we saw him at the training. Let me offer this guy 3 times more.
That used to happen. We started creating talent, particularly in the incubator, accelerator, hub space. There was a lot of people who had maybe a lot more donor money or more money than us. So it got to a place where a lot of players started coming to the space. Universities would get into the space. You'd have entrepreneurship programs from your Strathmores, your USIUs, foreign universities like Stanford Seed program would come into the mix. So a lot of competition started.
You guys were before all these guys?
We were before all these guys. In fact, a lot of them learned from us. You had people like Synapis, you had all sorts of Centonomy entered that space. All these people entered that space.
Hold on, you were before Centonomy?
We were before all these people. Centonomy used to do personalized finance before they entered the entrepreneurship space. Yeah, so we really were the pioneers in doing cohort-based entrepreneurship programs, and there's even a lot of programs in town that were kind of fashioned along our model. So
what happens in a time like that? what happens? I mean, and I'll speak, because the same thing with us at Video Content Digital. We're the pioneers of it.
It started getting more and more difficult for us to recruit people to come into our program, because at some point you're competing with free programs or subsidized programs you know, programs that have a bigger brand, like, you know, you're not going to compete with Strathmore in terms of their brand, the business school. So we had seen the competition creeping in, and we realized that it was becoming harder and harder with the model that we had to recruit people. During this period, so we tried bringing in 2 directors, Eugene and Winnie. That didn't work out within a very short period of time.
Okay.
Because I think there was a bit of a mismatch in terms of what we needed at that point and what they had to offer. And by this point, remember the fail quickly thing. Within 6 months, you know, just got into the agreement that this wasn't working. Immediately after, brought in 2 other people, Emmanuel and Kirinya. So Kirinya is still there to date. Emmanuel left to do something else maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And so,
and what you're bringing these guys to fill in to fix this situation?
Because what we felt is that we needed people at director level. Like now we had grown to we're 17 people, so like you have divisions, business units. So one is doing consulting, one is doing this entrepreneurship development, another one is doing training at the time. So we needed like people to head those departments, so that now I could be CEO. So Chris always headed the entrepreneurship department side. Kirinya is a consulting side, and then we had Emmanuel with the training side. Eventually we killed the training side, because at some point we just looked at it as a business and we were like saturated. We are not adding any unique value anymore, competing with local foreign brands and back to those certification issues for DIT and the like. But that's like this business. We've tried building it, it's not working. So maybe
that's a lesson. There's a time to learn and kill.
So we just killed it completely, shut down that division, and focused now on entrepreneurship development and consulting. And we said that our business would actually be focused on entrepreneurs only. And it's very interesting, from the time we made that decision, we grew in even bigger leaps and bounds than before in the Hivos era.
No way.
Yeah. So that's when I started to learn that there's a power in focusing on something. Because before that, we felt like we were trying to do too many things and spread ourselves across whatever, and even confusing the market, so the market doesn't know you for anything. And the other thing that also happened in around 2016, 2017 is that we now refreshed our board. We had a board before that, but it wasn't very active. But now we brought on board a serious board that would hold us accountable.
So let me ask you a question. What wasn't working, and what... First question is, what wasn't working? And then a follow-up of that would be, how did you then select the members of this next board?
Board. So what happened is that with the first board, we were not very disciplined. Like, we didn't have quarterly meetings, minutes, and that kind of thing. It was kind of like advisory. We meet when we can, whatever. So at some point, in fact, I remember the conversation around 2016. We had this conversation of, we do consulting for other people. We help them establish governance. We help them put all these systems and processes. And as a result, they grow in leaps and bounds. But we don't do the same for ourselves. So how can we hold ourselves accountable to doing the same things that we ask our customers to whatever? Because we were the ones holding them to account, but no one holding us to account. So we went through a strategy planning process, and one of the things that came out was that we just need to refresh our governance and get serious about it, alongside other things. And also that's when the conversation around maybe we need to focus around a certain thing, and decided to ask questions around what are we really, really good at that nobody else can come into that space. Because when you look at strategy in general for companies, you have your McKinsey's, BCG's, global brands that will come and get paid tons of money around that. We can't compete with them. If you look at the next segment of your big four, your PwC's, KPMG's, they also have a certain brand clientele. We can't compete. But then we looked at entrepreneurship development, like who's the leading brand even globally in entrepreneurship development? You can't think of a company brand that stands out in that space. There's individuals, the guy who wrote E-Myth, Michael Garber, there's a few people here and there, but there's no company that's known, maybe Y Combinator now, to work with entrepreneurs and build them.
But Y Combinator even is known for funding.
It's a different, it's a different whatever. So we are like, this looks like an open playing field and probably globally. So why don't we just double down and focus on that? And it's kind of our board that pushed us to, you guys need to focus, you guys need to focus. One of the guys on our board is called Titus Karanja, the Wylde board, former CEO of CDN Bank, then he's really sharp mathematical mind. So he looks through our finances and he's like, when I look at your finances, it's like 80-90% of your finances, your cash comes from something entrepreneurship related. Because by then, Kirinya had come on board with International Trade Center, which is a UN body on entrepreneurship, and a few other smaller ones. Chris had that program that I mentioned that he was working on, the white label. On my side, I had your HIVOSes and everything. But the common thread across was entrepreneurship development.
Wow.
So when he pointed that out is when we looked at each other and we're like, actually, maybe he has a point. Why are we trying all these other things with corporate, with this, that we don't really have a strength in? What if we are just brave enough to cut off everything and say we are all about entrepreneurship development?
First of all, how did you get Titus on your board?
Yeah, it was through referrals.
So okay, no, but on the real, like when you're getting somebody in your
members,
board.
yeah. So I mean, like we had, they are still there. So we have Titus, we have Rosie Lore, who used to run Stanford Seed Program before, and Acumen. We have Emily Mutua, who used to be at Scan Group. Then we have the chair. David Odera has been a big mentor almost throughout my entrepreneurship journey and even marriage. And then we have Professor Scott from USIU, who is also on that board.
Scott is actually
yeah, he's on the Wylde board.
Yeah, so. And he's in this space.
Yes. He's the academic whatever. So we picked different whatever, HR, finance, entrepreneurship development, and entrepreneur, and an academic in that space. So
that's interesting.
So we have a really strong bench there now holding us to account, and got into the thing of we have meetings, we have minutes, we agree on certain things. By the time we come the next quarter, those things have to be done. And so it got us cleaning.
Have you done
up
a board meeting this year?
Things. Yeah, we do them quarterly. Now we are very disciplined around it. Like we don't joke around it. Like it has to happen. And as a result, so again, started growing in leaps and bounds when we focused on entrepreneurship. And it's also like, it's almost like the time we decided to do that focus, something happened in how people perceived us, because out of the blues, everyone just started coming towards us. Banks, insurance companies, like all sorts of people who had something SME. Now with our SME focused messaging, everyone was like, oh, if you need anything SME, just go to those guys.
Yeah.
And so that's the period that culminated in two big things. So the first one was Facebook wanted to do a big project.
Yep.
Facebook, now Meta, wanted to do a big project around training small and medium-sized businesses on how to do digital marketing. So they look around, I think they had tried working with another firm and didn't work very well. And so, I got a call. I felt it was like a joke because this was one of the people I was with in ISEC several years after me. It was like, Joram, we are looking for providers to run a program around small businesses. I didn't take it seriously until we signed that contract.
What?
Because for me it was just so surreal that Facebook would come all the way from where they were and ask, for us to put in a bid. And then eventually we got selected because in all the programs we had done until then, we are probably the company with the largest footprint of having trained small and medium-sized businesses, whether it was in-house or through these third parties of your HIVOSes and everyone. Yeah. So we had a huge footprint. We had partnerships with all sorts of organizations that would make it easy to reach SMEs to get them trained. And then the other thing that began to happen is that now, as we were rethinking the model of this program that we were running, we started to think that something needed to change. But we had also been discussing with all these experts who used to be facilitators in the program. We're like, people, we are serving the same customers. Why do we sit in different offices if we are literally serving the same customers? Like we refer customers to you guys, you guys go and do your thing. You guys have customers you're working with who need our strategy, Why don't we think about coming together and sharing facilities, which will then make it more efficient for customers to access all the different services. It will make it more efficient for us to collaborate, to build programs together, to refer business to one another. So we had started the process of that one-stop shop because after Valley Arcade, At some point we decided, okay, Valley Arcade is not working very well for us, and the lease came to an end there. So we moved to...
Don't tell me back to Halingam.
No, so back to Galana Road. Galana Road,
Yes, is
near
where
Nkole.
Navigators is.
Yeah, so that's where we got a 4-bedroom house, but we said, let's start testing this one-stop shop, whatever. So we invited, I think, 3 or 4 of the smaller consultancies and said, come, we test this concept of one-stop shop together. And then if it works, we'll probably grow organically. We can get a bigger house, then a bigger, and then eventually we'll end up with this, all those experts under one roof. But as soon as we moved to
Galana Road.
Yeah, to Galana Road, something else happened in that somebody that had been in my circles again from, so remember the ISEC network, so somebody I knew in the ISEC network was promoted to a position of fund manager for an organization that funds SME enablers.
Stop right there. Stop right there. We're coming back. We are coming back. Yeah.